Hello, everybody. I'm Lee Nadler, founder of Sherpa Marketing and chairman of the board for the Advertising Club of New York. Thank you all for joining today. For those of you who have joined us before, this is a series called Conversations With, where I have a conversation with fellow Advertising Club board members. We've had 6 amazing conversations already. You can find them all on the Advertising Club's website in the virtual clubhouse section. And today we have another great conversation with another great board member. And I'm really interested to have this conversation because there's so many interesting thoughts that are happening at this time right now. But this is one of those brands, and I'm talking about JetBlue and Elizabeth Windram, who is the vice president of marketing. She's been at JetBlue for a number of different years, and prior to that, actually worked in the wine industry and worked in finance. So she's had quite an interesting career. When you think about a brand like JetBlue, not only do you think about a brand that has done so much from a marketing standpoint and an experience standpoint, and so we're going to talk about that and how that has pivoted during this really interesting time. But it's also a New York brand. And given all of the challenges that many of us here in New York, given that we're the Advertising Club of New York, have faced, I think this will be a great discussion for us to have. As a reminder, there is a Q&A section at the end, so feel free to type in your questions, and I'll try and get to as many as we can over the next 40 minutes or so. So thank you so much for joining, Elizabeth. Welcome.
Hi, Lee. I'll start my video. Hi, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Lee. Hi, everyone.
How are you doing?
Good, good. I'm in my office for the first time in quite a while.
Oh, wow. You're in your real office.
In my real office, not my bedroom, which has been my office for months, like so many of us.
Oh, wow. That's such is today the first day?
It's the first day that I've made an appearance here since May. So yeah, a lot of changes. Actually, everything's very touchless faucets, touchless doors, sanitizer everywhere, you know, like everyone. We're getting ready to reopen and welcome people back slowly. Nice. So it's nice to be here. It's nice to put on earrings and not be in my bedroom and not have my 7-year-old barging in. It's been great, but it's always a risk. So for this, I thought we'd be more formal, Lee.
Nice. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, let's get into it. You know, in our prep call last week, it was so interesting to hear about all the amazing just new processes and new ways of thinking that you have to manage as a brand like JetBlue, which obviously is in the travel industry. And with COVID-19 and us trying to now figure out how to stay safe while at the same try and do a little bit of getting back to our lives. And again, very interesting and symbolic that you're in your office now for the first time. Talk about some of those shifts as a marketer at an amazing airline company and some of the things you've had to go through.
So where do I begin? This was like our prep conversation. I will ramble at you until you redirect me. So look, we have never seen anything like this in the travel industry, obviously in the world. That's an understatement. And we thought we could navigate this pretty well. We had one of the strongest balance sheets in the industry, which is saying a lot in an airline. We have such a strong brand. And we thought, well, if people stop traveling for a few weeks or we have, a little bit of a slow recovery, we'll be all right. And what we anticipated was our revenue going effectively to nothing, or refunding more than we were taking in for a very long period of time, and really unclear how the recovery would start and when it would start. So just huge financial pressures, managing our cash burn every day, Not the kind of thing a marketer likes to talk about too much, right? I like to do big storytelling, right? And so, through that, we've had to figure out how to navigate as a brand with very high expectations. I think people expect a lot from JetBlue. They somehow trust us to get this right and to somehow know what to do and to do the right thing and to lead the industry. So, I feel that expectation. I feel that pressure to lead this brand, steward it the way that our customers have come to expect us to over the last 20 years.
Is it safe to say that JetBlue is a very human brand? Even just with the voice and the communications, you feel like there are people there as opposed to just an algorithm there. And there's a human side to all of this. We're all going through this together. So it's not like JetBlue has a difficult time and everybody else is doing fine. Everybody's going through this. But how do you manage that humanity with, let's call it, capacity and business, and trying to do the right thing and also trying to manage a business?
Yeah, well, for JetBlue, humanity is baked in from the start. That is our mission. Our mission, for those who aren't familiar, it was to bring humanity back to air travel. And now we've laddered up. It is now inspire humanity. Our values are safety, caring, passion, integrity, and fun, of course. But humanity is really built into the brand. And so we were born out of this opportunity to say, air travel can be more humane. We can bring space back. We can give you snacks. We can deliver great service. We can be real people. We can be human and see you as humans. So that's really, really core to our DNA. So that sort of juxtaposition, or, they're not really at odds for us around like the right business thing to do versus the right thing to do by people. That has always been fused to the brand. I believe is what's made us successful. What has been so hard in this moment, and we're finally coming out of this period, thank goodness, was to really get into our more serious voice. We are always, I'm in my office, so I'm looking at, I have puns everywhere. I won't get it for you, but we're always using puns, blue puns, little witty winks in the copy all the time. And we realized sometime in March that needed to be toned down quite dramatically, and not to lose who we are as a brand and lose our distinctive voice or our personality, but to just really make sure that we were having a pretty serious safety moment and telling people, here are the protocols, here's how we're keeping our crew safe, here's how we're keeping you safe. And we leaned into just a little bit of a different facet of the brand. And now we're bringing that tone back. We always stay human though. We always communicate. We always try to bring that to the fore.
Yeah, and just for the other marketers who are going through this, I mean, I remember managing a brand like Mini, which in many ways has that same kind of wink. Obviously, a bit of a different tone in terms of the British roots and the different kind of. Basically, like, there is a difference, first of all, between fun and funny, right? Like, people can have fun. You don't have to be funny to have fun also, but it's really interesting as you try to navigate. First of all, is it more of a feel, or have you kind of took like those 5 pillars that you mentioned? Did you reprioritize those? So safety comes first and these other things, or is it really kind of a feel your way through it? And then my second part to the question is like, as you mentioned, like things are starting to loosen up a little bit, whatever the term is for everybody. Do you think some of these things will stay with the brand in terms of like, have you found a different tone that would stay even when there's a vaccine and things open up? Or do you think you'll go back to that pun and wink strategy?
That's a good question. So as far as reprioritizing go, no, safety was always first. You can't be an airline and not take safety absolutely critically seriously. And so that's always been true. You never have to worry about that. So we were able to just dial up the way we talk about that. in a more overt way.
Makes sense.
You know, safety was always table stakes, and now it's table stakes still, but it's a different kind of safety that we're talking about. That safety as you go through our travel experience, and a little bit of psychological safety as well.
Right.
So we launched a program called Safety from the Ground Up. That is how we organized. So what we found was something new was coming at us every day that we needed to navigate, whether it was states opening up, states requiring quarantines, international destinations closing, you know, the need for different protocols, reducing touch points, changing our policies around flexibility, cancel, refund, everything. It was just, you know, we're in a constant, you know, we're used to hurricanes. It was like a hurricane every day.
Oh, wow.
A marketing hurricane where we were having to navigate and communicate and organize all these things. And what we weren't able to do was just constantly update people about, here's what we're doing now, here's what we've added, here's what we've changed, it was too much. And so what we went ahead and did was we launched a program called Safety from the Ground Up. It is truly a safety program. It's not about just cleaning, although cleaning is important. It's more than about cleaning.
Right.
So we went ahead and we considered 4 pillars. Healthy crew members is one of them. We need our crew members to stay safe. They need to know that their safety and health is a priority. If these are the people serving you and delivering our brand, and our brand lives through our people very, very much, we needed to prioritize their health and safety. So that is a pillar of our program, and it was important that we communicate that to customers. I think people wanted to know what we were doing for our crew and how that would come to life as they travel all the time. I mean, we think about getting on a plane once, they're always out there, right? Going to all these different jurisdictions, different rules. So how are we keeping them safe? Creating space and reducing touch points is another. So just this idea of distancing and how do we do that? I know we're going to get to that because you all want to know about the middle seat. I know you do. It's the one question.
Well, tell us, because you're one of the few that's really committed to making sure that middle seat is open.
We are, and it's important for people to feel that upon returning to travel, they will still be able to exercise some level of distancing.
And that's
it's an expensive investment for us.
Yeah,
so
a great example of you seesawing humanity above budget, so to speak.
Yeah.
That costs a lot of money. It
does. But as long as our customers tell us that that's what they want and need and expect, then that's what we'll do.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. And what about the tone? Like, can you see on the other side of the mountain, you know, if you'll incorporate some new way of communicating, or is it just, you got to take it step by step?
I think our tone is back. So I never really fully went away, but you know, now we're back in the puns. We're just very sensitive to making sure nothing is misinterpreted, nothing is ill-timed. Great example, a live example from today, actually. We had an email going out to Fort Lauderdale with some fair sale kind of options, and the copy headline, which we wrote on Thursday, which was fine, was "Things are looking up." Get it? Up. Things are looking up. Okay. I know you all get it, but right. So there we are with our "things are looking up," right? Things are not looking up in Florida. So I wake up today and my head of brand calls me and says, "I can't send this email. Why did we write this?"
Yeah.
So it's really, you know, I would say what's really shifted in terms of how we are operating as a team is I have become a lot more command and control. A lot more. I'm reviewing everything, and that's very unlike me. I really like to trust my team. They know the brand, they know the voice. There are enough eyeballs on everything that, you know, normally that's absolutely fine. And now at this point, I'm reviewing everything very, very tightly to make sure we don't have a misstep, or something that could be misinterpreted in this sensitive time. And as the landscape just changes so quickly. Wow,
that's a tremendous amount of not only work to go through, but also just it's a very different process. And with all of these conversations, we've kind of talked about how teams have had to shift and pivot it based on process. That's obviously a big shift. Yeah. And I know also with your programs. You do, so many programs. I imagine you've had to scale down quite a few, but I think the gang on the other side of this call to hear about one amazing program that you as a New York brand have done recently. So maybe you can talk about that and we'll show it.
Sure. So in the midst of all this, in the midst of navigating the changes in our business and figuring out how we were going to first scale down our operation and now scale it back up appropriately into the new normal and adjust our experience, we decided to honor our healthcare heroes. And so we always at JetBlue say, well, what can we do to help? That's really our starting place. That's very mission driven for us. We have a history of doing these kinds of things. And so we decided we wanted to do something to honor our essential workers, especially our healthcare workers. Back, it was April now, which seems like years ago. And so what we went ahead and did was we gave away 100,000 pairs of round-trip tickets to healthcare workers. So we opened it up. It wasn't just doctors and nurses, it was doctors and nurses, but also anyone who worked in the healthcare field supporting our hospitals at that time.
Yeah.
So, and we did a call for nomination. We just said, do you know someone who's working hard? They're going to need a vacation. So there's the JetBlue wink, right? It wasn't really loud and as perhaps witty as we normally are, but we just said, these people are going to need a vacation, right? It's pretty obvious. And so we were able to give them one. Don't worry, the round trip tickets are good for over a year, so they have plenty of time. And we were very careful to say, look, this is for when the time is right. We're not saying they have to go now if that's not appropriate. Do you want to play the video?
Yeah, I think we would all
We teed up a video. I think I just said what it said.
JetBlue wants to join everyone in saying thank you to our healthcare heroes. I want to thank my aunt for her dedicated service as a nurse.
My little sister, Bethany, she works as a nurse in Monterey.
My college friend Thurlow at Emory Hospital in Atlanta.
Thank you to you. You are the real heroes.
All the first responders in my family that are healthcare workers and police officers.
I'd like to thank all the nurses and doctors that have come into contact with me here at the gate in Boston, that are going to cities far from home to care for people that really need it.
Day in and day out, doctors and nurses and many, many more across the medical field are taking care of us.
Now it's our turn to say thank you.
Thank you. Gracias a todos.
By giving away 100,000 pairs of round-trip flights to our healthcare workers.
So they can take a vacation when the time is right.
That's where we need your help.
We need your help.
We need your help.
We need your nominations.
Go to jetblue.com/healthcarehero to nominate your healthcare hero, and they could receive round-trip flights for 2.
And now they're flying with us. So we had a really successful program. For the wonks out there, all our measurements show that it did lift brand first choice. So people who were exposed to this idea or understood what we were doing know that JetBlue, if we are flying their way, they would prefer to fly with us.
Nice.
Which is nice to see. But it was also just a really great, especially here in New York, where we were the epicenter for so long, what we were all living through. I live in Manhattan, our crew members are here. We're observing in our own communities. We just wanted to do something. This is the way we could help. So we get our crew members in on the act, of course, right? We love to showcase our crew members, their real voices. What do you want to say to the healthcare workers who are supporting our community right now through this time? And that's what we put in the video. No actors needed. It's always real crew members in a uniform. And it was a wonderful program. And now we're figuring out how to tell those stories. When they're flying with us, where are they going? How are they visiting someone? Are they taking a vacation? And we have a whole program so that when they fly with us, we're able to acknowledge and welcome them also and say, oh, you were one of our healthcare winners. That's great. Thank you. How did you help? And our crew members are having a lot of fun with that, actually. They get really excited if they have someone on one of their flights, they can see it and deliver that personal service and thank you again. So really nice.
There's so much I love about this. Congratulations for doing it. You know, first of all, just the idea of starting out with how can we help? You know, and I think this has caused a lot of people and a lot of brands to think that way. And also, like, if there's nothing else to take away from all these conversations and being in the industry we're in, we actually have a lot of power to do a lot of good and do good for our business. But like, if there's anything to take away, it really, and there's so many examples, and this is one of those examples, these are human beings who are like sacrificing and putting so much in. And to think about, yes, write a check, yes, do all kinds of things. But what can I do as a brand and a business to help? And how can I do it in an authentic way? And again, back to kind of New York feel for JetBlue. You could have went so many ways creatively, but you know, even the way you ended there with playing guitar on top of the fire truck and the applause, I probably, I don't know, I can't even count how many times I've gone up to the roof of my building at 7 o'clock, you know, and it started out small. It kind of then turned into other people in my building bringing like instruments up. And there's a guy like across the way who blows this crazy horn. It sounds like a shofar, but it's not. And this just reminds me of like, if JetBlue was a person on a rooftop, this is what you would do.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
No, exactly. Exactly. So there's always a way to live your brand, even in these moments of crisis. When we're not sure what to do, you do know what to do if you know who your brand is and how your brand behaves. You know about ours. I ask myself the question a lot, and maybe this will help people. I always think that when your brand mission and your brand values are under pressure in some way, that's where you have a moment to act or to speak. And so, you know, when I think, you know, how should JetBlue respond, or should we respond, right? I ask myself, well, is humanity, right, under pressure? Well, yes, right? Like in this instance, yes, humanity is being challenged. So our mission is under pressure. And so that means we have a way. It doesn't tell you what to do. It doesn't say, oh, the creative answer is X, but it sort of gives you that area of heat. And I think a lot of brands, when they think, you know, what stories should we tell? How should we activate? That's sort of one framework that I like to use. This one has been, you know, pretty ripe because humanity has been fundamentally very challenged. And I think JetBlue, you know, for the last few months and probably ongoing, we'll have a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah, well, and I love how you take it all the way down to the experience of the crew members can then see when one of the heroes is on board. So like this, it's not about an ad campaign, right? This is real human beings being, you know, helped who have helped us. I'm just gonna, since we're talking about this, maybe you can answer in this regard, but then also broader if you want. We're getting a couple of questions just about like, how do you get the message out now, maybe differently than before with media budgets changing and the types of channel. Are you trying any new channels? Have you found any things that have been better served to this time?
We have been heavily leaning into our own channels. So this has been a time for us to, you know, tell our own story on our own turf and create a lot of our own content right here. We've been doing, you know, executive communications, a lot of emails, like leadership emails from JetBlue, just very straight conversations with our customers about what to expect, what we are doing, what we're seeing, when their airports are opening and closing, what our policies are and why they are. So we've been really telling our story on our own blog, on our own website, through our email, if you subscribe to our email. That's really been the focus. And then, yes, of course, social media, you know, to amplify a bit, but we effectively, media people are not going to want to hear, but you know, we turned it all off in March. It wasn't even effective. It wasn't necessarily even appropriate, especially pushing, ticket sales. No one was it wasn't converting anyway. It wasn't working.
Yeah, no, it's true. Even in so many businesses, like Mike Salette, when we spoke, I think it was last week, about Nestle Waters, he was like, we can't actually do demand generation when we don't have enough water to supply. So people aren't flying. Why would you do demand gen? But
that's changing now. That's changing now. So you're seeing a lot more. People are hungry to fly. Right. I think we're all ready for a vacation. People seem ready to visit their friends and relatives again. And so we are seeing demand come back.
So are there certain channels now that you turn on, and do you have different KPIs now?
Yeah, so we've turned on our sort of PPC again, slowly, very slowly. Yeah. But nothing, you're not going to see like a major out-of-home campaign for us for now, right? I mean, we have to be very, very careful about our budget, like everyone. So we're going to be scrappy. We'll see a lot of the usual scrappy, earned media kind of work from us coming ahead. But we do have a big story to tell. I mean, we can't turn off altogether. So, and there will be a paid component to what you see from us in the fall, because we have to get people to return to travel. Absolutely have to. We're partnering with a lot of our destination partners, US Travel as an entity. We're really thinking about lifting the category. It's really interesting for JetBlue because we are the 6th largest airline in the country. But I feel that we have to play our role in doing the category job as well, to say, come back to travel, come back to air travel. It's safe. Here are the measures we've taken, and you'll be all right. This is how it's appropriate to fly again. And then of course the brand job, which is come with us. I think we've done a lot of work to build trust in this time. We had a lot of trust. We had a lot of brand love. I very much hope that over the past few months, our responsible behavior, our kind behavior, our thoughtful approach to how we've re-engineered our whole experience, from flexibility to all of the experience when you go through our ground experience and then in flight. We've been so thoughtful and responsible about how we clean and prepare for that I think we've built trust. That's my headline, and I hope that people see that. I hope that we've done enough to show that JetBlue is not like other airlines. We are different, doing the right things, and in a moment where trust in a brand and a business is paramount. The big question, right? I hope that we're able to win. I know that we'll emerge as a smaller airline, just given the demand. I think that's what you'll hear from all the airline CEOs. But I hope that we emerge as a more trusted brand. And, gosh, the holy grail in my industry is, will this finally transcend price? Will you pay $5 more, please, for that difference? So that we can continue to invest in things like blocking the middle seats, right? And extend those kinds of flexible policies. And make our business work while doing the right thing. That's what I need from the American public.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Again, there's so many industries going through this. It reminds me, obviously in travel, there's hotels, there's the restaurant industry, in terms of like the whole thing has to feel safer, not just that restaurant or this, but you can separate your brand while you're also contributing to the greater good for that industry. Let's keep talking. I do want to poll though for people on the other end, because we have a few questions about people kind of getting back into certain types of businesses and what they're doing and so forth. So we're going to launch a poll. People can please just answer the questions, and then in a couple of minutes, we'll kind of show people the answers to the poll. But in the meantime, let's keep chatting. And I wanted to hear a little bit about not only the team, you mentioned like scrappy and so forth, and you mentioned you seeing now all of the work. Are there other things that you've learned through the process. Again, I remember, I've been on the agency side and the brand side, and like some things do take a certain amount of time, and, you find your way through. It's also interesting how you can get frustrated, again, pre-COVID, of like, we only have 2 weeks for this. And now like you're doing things in a morning, right? Like, talk about the process and what have you learned about, not that we want to keep that kind of pressure on everyone, because it is helpful to connect the dots and think, but like, what have you learned about the process that we can take forward to be even more efficient, whether it's internally with your agencies, media partners, et cetera?
I think you said it. We are so, I'm thinking how to say this. My team has been absolutely phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. And the speed at which they can deliver work, think through a problem, serve up a solution, and have it in market here in-house has just been truly extraordinary. I don't think that we knew what we were capable of. And we knew that we were scrappy and thin and, and trying to do a million things with not enough resources. And everyone was sort of like, oh, it's the JetBlue way, right? And people work hard. And I think if you told us what we were going to do in the last 3 months and with the timelines that we've been given to do it, we would have said no way. And then here we are. We did it. They showed up. This team really rallied. It has been just a delight and a real honor to lead this team. I've been impressed beyond belief. So that's sort of learning number one. No one wants to keep this pace up. This is inhumane and crazy. So we're all hoping for a break, and we've been trying to make sure to take care of one another as a team and say, hey, have you even slept? Like maybe,
And how do you do that? Is there a way, you mentioned to me, maybe you can talk about like how to keep the fun with the team also?
Yeah. So I think we've done a decent job of trying to keep spirits up, stay connected. A couple things. I have been a disciple of, I think it's Jack Welch. I don't know if I'm giving credit to the wrong person, management by walking around. Right? So I will go walk around and I find out all kinds of things. I learn everything that my team is working on. I learn unexpected things. I get all the stories. I go, oh, what's that on your desk? Or, oh, what's that on your screen? Or, right? I sort of, where's so-and-so? Right? Oh, they're on vacation. I know everything. And that was taken away in a heartbeat. I can't do that. You have to sort of very formally schedule a call and have a topic and all of that. So that was tough. I started scheduling daily meetings with the full team, not just my direct reports, but everyone, just to make sure everyone had the latest information as it was changing so quickly, keep everyone connected. And I just wanted to feel and have the team feel that team presence, a leadership presence, but also just that togetherness every day. I think we stood it down and now we're at 3 times a week, which I want to hang on to until we start seeing more of each other. And we have tried to keep the fun. I mean, look, it's been tense. It's been a difficult time for our business. We've been asking a lot of everyone at the same time. There's a lot of, fear about the future, what it means for our business, what it means for everyone, for our city, and it's tough. So we have tried to keep the fun. Have a group called the Blue Marketeers on my team. They've done a really nice job with, the things that you would expect. Book club, wine tasting night. We had a cooking night where I failed miserably to make, spaghetti. It was embarrassing. But really fun, right? Just to keep it a little bit lighter, keep the things that used to happen in an ad hoc way, just formally happening virtually.
Yeah, that's great. Those are great examples. I do have a couple of questions here I want to get to from some folks. One is from someone who travels, it sounds like, millions of miles on business every year.
Oh.
And yeah,
are you still going to do that?
Well, I guess that's a question that I'm sure you're grappling with. Do you think business travel will come back the same way, or leisure travel, or how will things shift? And do you think there'll be different ways of approaching business travel?
So I'm an optimist, and I'm also very bought into the need for real human connection. There's nothing like face-to-face. We also at JetBlue, I'm fundamentally in the be there business. That's what I like to say. Be there, right? Don't just call in for that meeting. Be there. Show that client that they're important to you, and you flew cross country to take that meeting, look them in the eye, and you work on something together. I think don't just call your grandma for her birthday. Be there. Show up. Visit. I think we've all learned through this experience of trying to virtually do all kinds of things, that there's nothing like that real experience. And so I do think that there'll be a hunger for travel again for all purposes, but I do also acknowledge that business will probably recover last, because we've all learned all of these new ways to do this. And when you're managing risk and managing your health and your priorities, perhaps that won't be tough. And businesses are looking at their policies. And our business travel recovery will very much depend on what individual businesses decide to support and how they do that. So we're looking for a leisure recovery, a visiting friends and relatives recovery first, and then business, but still very, very hopeful, because I think there is nothing like being there.
Yeah, well, that's very specific to not only the idea of I love the thought also of like showing the commitment. Obviously not everyone's going to be comfortable with that at this moment, but kind of the third area that we wanted to cover real quickly is kind of about just career and career advice and so forth. And that leads in nicely, because part of that is about relationship building, right? And so what career advice have you either taken to heart that maybe you learn now or a while ago, and what career advice are you sharing with people, not only on your team, but also obviously a lot of people in the industry are going through many challenges right now. There are people who, now have lost their job. And again, another reason to really cherish the relationship that we have and with other advertising club members, because this is a community that stays consistent throughout your career. And that's hopefully something that's comforting for most.
Sure.
But in terms
of
as
you can attest, I mean, were you an intern? And now you're chairman of the board.
I know. I wasn't an intern, but I was a young professional.
You're a young pro.
I was the young pro president. And it was actually before doing that, I helped to start a group that got together as young pros. And this is like part of the power of the community. Yeah. And what we did, I won't say how many years ago, but young pros are for those in the club under 30. We put together a group of people. We did pro bono advertising for local nonprofit groups. So the ad council usually works with big national groups in one agency. And instead what we did is we worked with local New York nonprofit groups, and I was at Kirschenbaum and Bond at the time, an account person, and there was a creative person from Saatchi, and there was a media person from another agency, and we got together and we did free work for nonprofits. And I'm glad you brought that up. It reminds me of just the power of the community, and also back to our discussion of like, we have real capacity to do good, even if you can't write a check right now.
Yeah.
And maybe this leads into part of your answer for career advice of like, that was something that I wanted to do, and it not only felt good and it did good, but it all taught me. And are there things that people can do at this time right now to like step out of their silo and broaden?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. So, there's so much need right now. I can't tell you how much help I need. And I mean, and when I see folks on my team or even from other departments coming in and saying, I can do that, or I see a need there, and that's not my job, but I'd love to try. That is incredible. And those people will go very far. And I think this is a good chance if you can, to step into things that maybe you thought were risky before, or you didn't know enough about. There's so much need. Just step in and try. I see examples of that on my team all the time. Samantha Byrne, who's probably dialed in now listening, no matter what I say, she'll say I did a good job because she's very positive. But she stepped up. She saw I was doing this talk, and she sent me a really great note of thought starters. And she said, here are some things I think that people might be really interested in hearing. I didn't ask her to do that. She stepped up and she stepped in. And you know what? I hadn't thought about what we were going to talk about, and it was really helpful. And but there are just, I think, don't be afraid. I think your leaders need you more than perhaps you think. And I know that it's a difficult time in this industry. I feel grateful to have my job, and I know it's hard. I think that leaning into organizations like Club of New York, not to be a total, insider here, but I do think that communities like this can help us navigate. And so don't be afraid to get involved. You never know what the next opportunity is going to be, where it will come from. These are things we all know that we have to do, but now even more.
Yeah, that's great. And again, thank you for the specific example also, because I think you're right. Sometimes we're afraid to try, or maybe our colleagues will you stepped at it, like, to your point, as a leader, you need the help. And so everyone shouldn't just wait for the leader to, this is an opportunity for people to also show what they can do, and it's needed. It's not just welcome, it's needed.
It is.
So if everyone just take one step further, and you never know what it leads to. If nothing else, you'll just be helping, and that's good enough right now.
Right.
Yeah. So I could do this all day, but we are coming to the end here. First, I wanted to see if there was anything else specific you want to share. And then, as you know, we always end these with a quote. It could be a thought. It could be an idea. It could be a pun. If you want, you can do it.
Oh, I didn't prepare a pun. I wish it could have been a pun. I didn't think.
Well, look on your whiteboard back there. You might have one.
I've got a million.
I love this. This is real time.
My favorite ad we've ever done, I don't know if you can see, is born and raised in Queens, New York's hometown airline. I was born and raised in just like JetBlue. So that's one of my favorite ones we've done. Just there's a little bit of local love, New York's hometown. With our nice Milton Glaser, rest in peace, design in the corner. So no, I mean, the idea, I think the idea was about sharing, and people who know me will be shocked because it's not Catholic propaganda, but the Jesuits have a concept of, it's magis, and it's the idea of more. And it's not about more like run yourself ragged, it's about a pursuit of excellence and really looking inside for depth that perhaps you didn't there for a greater service. That is very much something I've been reflecting on for the last few months. Stepping into this crisis, I was starting to read about crisis leadership and how I could approach it. And that principle, that sort of concept is something that resonated, and I've been sort of meditating on and trying to live. So perhaps that's helpful for people to think about.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that. And it's so nice to also, like, this is an example also of just getting to know each other in a different way. And that's helpful for people. Also, I found of just back to the humanity part of it, as leaders and as individuals, like we're, working to each other in a very different way these days. Everybody is. And you can share things like that maybe help guide you. I've shared, with many, and people can see the past episodes again in the virtual clubhouse, that I've had a blog called The Sherpa Path for almost a dozen years now. I started it a little bit before my second expedition to Everest, and I learned a lot from the Sherpa people about just that kind of guidance and leadership, like in some very difficult terrain, let's say. So I wanted to share a quote that my good friend, believe it or not, I won't make this up, his name is Karma Sherpa.
Wow.
And yeah, so he, and I think this is interesting because, and we're going to end it after this, but there's a lot that is still very unknown right that we can't control. So Karma Sherpa came up with a great analogy, which is that you cannot control the weather outside, but you can manage the temperature in your own space. So I want to thank you for taking the time, for going to your office, for sharing in such an authentic way, for being a great fellow board member of the Ad Club, and also a great brand steward for JetBlue. And thank you all on the other end of this for participating. We do have a quick survey coming up, so if you don't mind filling that out. And then there are a bunch of other events coming up. So if you're not signed up for the Ad Club email, please do so. In fact, as I talked about the Young Pros have a series coming up, Ask the Expert, which I think will start next week. And we're going to be sending out an email to all those who have participated just about how we want to continue conversations with going forward. And hopefully those who are members of the Ad Club see this as a great benefit, and those who are not yet members hopefully will join. Feel free to socialize this in a couple of days. For those who have colleagues who maybe want to see this, we'll send in an email when this goes live. And in the meantime, I hope everybody stays safe and also tries to find some ways to have some fun as well, inspired by Elizabeth, and all of us, we can move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you.